King of Glory. We want to thank you and exalt you and commit before your presence, O King of Glory, that you may take preeminence and take, O God Almighty, authority, O God. We thank you and we glorify you in the precious and awesome name of our Lord and our Savior Jesus Christ. And everyone say, Amen.
Amen. Thank you so much, Oscar. So I take this opportunity to welcome each and one of you. Thank you so much for creating time to attend this ELNET Forum. I believe we are going to have a very engaging time together. I also want us to be in a relaxed atmosphere. So please get to know your neighbor. Get to know your neighbor. We can also network. I believe most of us are business people. So get to know who is seated next to you. Yes, it's good we get to know one another. My name is Charles, and I will be your moderator this evening. I will coordinate the different sessions. Yes, that is enough now. That is enough now. Make sure you carry off that discussion later. Make sure you carry off that discussion later. Yes, I was saying my name is Charles Peter. I'll be your moderator this evening. I am a business person, and I believe in doing business ethically, and that is what ELNET stands for, the Ethical Leadership Network. That is what we stand for. We are going to hear more of that even as we continue this particular evening. And so I would wish to welcome at this juncture our host, and this is also one of the persons who started ELNET, a man we respect. So ladies and gentlemen, let's put our heart together and join me as I welcome Dr. Tim Kilohe to give us opening remarks about ELNET. Welcome. Thank you.
Good evening. Warm welcome to the International Leadership University. I always like to ask, how many of you are here for the very first time? This is your first time in this hall, maybe, or in this compound. Quite a few of us. We are very, very glad that you could join us for the program that we have this evening. My part is brief, is just to really welcome you and give you a little bit of background about the university. And then I'll be transitioning the program to the ELNET leadership. Let me first of all appreciate Commissioner from the Eacc, Dr. Cecilia Mutuku, all the other distinguished guests who are here present. Because this is a university, allow me to appreciate some chairs of the university councils who are here. Dr. Jeremy Bundi, if I can identify you, you are there. I don't know whether Professor Some has been able to join us. He was hoping to join us tonight. Professor David Some, who has also been with the commission as well. We have some fellow vice chancellors. Allow me to just recognize them, those who are here. Professor Peter Moriongi, all the way from Tharaka University, is here with us. I would also like to appreciate Professor Kamau Ngamau. I don't know that he has arrived. I can't see him yet. And also we are expecting also Dr. Diana Mwizi from KAG East University. Professor Kamau Ngamau is from Cooperative University, and Dr. Diana Mwizi from KAG East University. Allow me to also appreciate the presence of Professor Mwenda Ntarangwi. He's been our regulator. He's just the immediate past CEO of the Commission for University Education. We are very glad that you are here. He's still involved in in academia. And also many others. I can see quite a number of other people who teach, lecture here, and other universities. All of you from academia, we are very grateful that you are here. We have some corporate leaders, we have business leaders who are here. We also have leaders from the civil society and NGO who came, who had already confirmed to be here. And also, we also want to appreciate a number of leaders from the faith community. I can see some bishops and pastors as well who are present. Allow me, because of time, not to take time to introduce each one. I would also like to appreciate members of our governance organs here at ILU. Some members of our council are here. I don't know whether CPO Bok, I haven't been able to see him yet. I know he was planning to be here, and maybe others. And also, we also, of course, have our team here at ILU, both the faculty, the students, some student leaders, as well as some staff who are here, administrative staff. All of you present, ladies and gentlemen, karibuni sana. We are very glad that you are here at ILU. For the sake of those of you who are very new, I'll just share very briefly about us, because we exist for the very purpose, I believe, that has brought us here tonight. Those of you who may have seen as you came through the gate, you saw that our slogan is developing leaders of integrity. We have given ourselves a very difficult task, being in Kenya, knowing the reality that is on the ground. But we believe it's the only way for this nation to prosper. It is through men and women who commit themselves to be people of integrity, to be people who will be able to move, whatever spheres they are in, on the basis of both their personal integrity and corporate integrity of the institutions that they run. And so how do we do that? In addition to, of course, the programs, the academic programs we run, as I said, under the Commission for University Education, our programs are created by the Commission. But in addition to what we teach in class, which of course we also try to integrate values in each of our programs, and I'll shortly tell you about the programs, we also try to mentor the students. We connect each student with a mentor who can help them to clarify their own personal values, because we believe that that's where it all starts. We also try to work hard. It is not easy to do that, but to also ensure that we have other programs that support the area of the growth of their morals and values. My area of training happens to be in leadership, organizational leadership, and one of the areas that we now acknowledge is that spirituality plays a big role. You'll find this in all research, it doesn't matter from which source. They'll all acknowledge that spirituality plays a big part in enhancing the values in leadership and contributing to effective leadership. And so, we also want to strengthen that aspect. There are things that we do in terms of chapel and other areas, the prayer life of the students, their spiritual life, and their spiritual formation, to see that they are enhancing that area. Then we also have once a year a community outreach. This year, a few months ago, we were in Mount Elgon area, where we go and spend time together with the students and try to meet the needs of communities for them to see how what they learn in class translates into affecting real society and transforming. They don't have to wait until they graduate. We want them to be prepared to be change makers, to be problem solvers in addressing the needs that we have in their society, and also to realize that they're in a privileged lot and they need to live, of course, for the sake of others and helping them. Welcome. Professor Ngamau has just arrived. Karibu sana. I can see you. You can find a place right here. How do we do? What are our outcomes? 3 things. We want people to graduate when they have, of course, the competencies. That's what they come for usually here. So we cannot compromise. We want to make sure that they have all the competence they need in the areas of expertise. But secondly, we want them to graduate also when they have got strong character. We believe that character is a foundation of good leadership and, of course, for continued leadership. People without character can get into positions of influence, to positions of leadership. Very often they will not be sustained. They will not live there for long. So we build and we seek to build strong character. But thirdly, we want them to be connected to the ground, to have ability to connect with the context in which they are in, to be able to bring transformation. So welcome to ILU. I'll not bore you with much more about us. We have programs in the areas of leadership and management and governance. Our programs start just to break that down for those for whom that is complicated, is to say things like business administration, management, Christian ministry leadership, educational leadership, corporate leadership, public governance, and we carry those all the way from certificate all the way to the PhD. And in the area of theology and Christian ministry, that's our traditional area. Our old name was NIST, Nairobi International School of Theology. So we have programs in theology also, from certificate all the way to the PhD. And also that we have programs in counseling psychology from certificate all the way to the master's level. And you'll be able to get a bit more information on our table back there. But we are very, very glad you could be here. I'll not say much more because this is not our day. We are just happy to be really hosts and to partner with ELNET to make this event a success. So allow me to now hand it over back either to him, or maybe I can go ahead and invite maybe the next speaker if that's what you'd like me to do. Charles Peter, back to you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Tim. After we develop leaders of integrity, at the International Leadership University, they come out here. Will they continue doing business or practicing leadership in integrity? That is where ELNET comes in. Now it's my singular honor to welcome, I call him El Dalali, to come and tell us more about ELNET. What is ELNET all about? Thank you. Let's give him a hand as he comes. Thank you.
Good evening. I think the mic, some of us have some vertical exaggeration. Yeah, huh? That's fine. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, distinguished guests, and all of us. Oops. Shall I hold it? Okay. I'm sure you can still hear me as they make. Or, you know. Let me hold the mic, like a preacher. So, good evening. Pleasure, very delighted to see each and every one of you. It's really a joy to see so many people gathered here for this event. My duty today is to introduce ELNET. My name is Lawrence Mosa, or Larry Mosa, as Charles would like to call me, and tell you what ELNET is all about. Well, ELNET, in a nutshell, it's an organization of Christ-centered leaders who want to see change brought about in their areas of influence through ethics and integrity. So we are in the right space, just like ILU. So if you're here and that is your clarion call, you're in the right place. You're going to hear more and more about us. What is our vision then as ELNET? ELNET is Christ-centered leaders of integrity spearheading holistic transformation in Kenya. And what is our mission? Our mission is to engage, to develop, to multiply, and to synergize these Christ-centered leaders of integrity to transform every sector of society. That's a little bit ambitious, but we believe that it is possible and it can be done. To do this, we have identified 3 key sectors that we need to work in. The first one is governance. We need to influence our governance so that we have leadership that is based on ethical values. The second one is the youth, or the mentoring group. We have in this audience, and the people who have come, 50% are actually youth. And research has shown that 75% of Kenya is actually youth. So if you cannot ignore our future leaders. And then we have the business group. So ELNET in a nutshell is 3 groups: governance group, mentoring group, and business group. Let me talk about the business group. The governance group. The governance group of ELNET is responsible for quite a bit. We spearheaded the moral foundations of Kenya's Vision 2030. We've taken part in the national values and principles and contributed to Chapter 6 of Kenya's 2010 Constitution. But we are not saying it. Then facilities. We facilitate value-based civic education and engagement. Note here we are talking about value-based civic education, not just civic education, but civic education that has a foundation and is value-based. And then we help Kenyans elect the kind of leaders that we all desire. And this is the kind of leaders that we all desire. We desire leaders that are blameless, leaders that are empowering, leaders that are visionary, leaders that are inclusive, leaders that are protectors of family. And in 2022, the governance group trained various leaders on these qualities using the BVIP tool developed by ELNET. The governance group also has a curriculum that teaches on responsible citizenship. Here there is cohesion, citizenship, and culture. You will agree with me that after every election cycle, we have a need for cohesion. The material also encourages Christians to participate actively in governance. I don't know if I will talk about participation in our governance area, just by a show of hands, how many people have actually participated in maybe political party nomination here? I don't know how many hands would go up. I can see a hand there. But we want to encourage that. We want to encourage Christians to be actively involved in that. In this area, we've partnered with other organizations such as KCPF, Daystar University, and our host ILU, among others, to promote good governance. What are our plans as ELNET in this area of governance? We intend to have monthly webinars on ethics, engage the church and believers on governance matters through governance forums in churches. And I'd like to add here that we have done this in various churches, with the Presbyterian Church, with the Anglican Church, CITAM, Crisco, and very many others. We mobilize and partner with para-church organizations and Christians to come together and raise their voices on corruption issues and ethics. And where necessary, we come up with delegations that can engage the government and its body and its bodies. Let me come to the second group of ELNET, which is the mentoring group. This, as we said, seeks to create an army, let me call it an army, of young people grounded on ethical values and integrity. These young people are people who are transformed, who will transform not only their peers, but their communities and their societies. And that's what we seek to do. That is why in a gathering like this, 50% of the people who are gathered here, whether online or present, is youth. In the mentoring group, we partner with organizations, schools, churches, universities, and communities to empower our next generation of Kenya's leaders to be people of character. We have a mentoring manual where we train and actually support on mentoring. We support students, leaders through mentoring and equip teachers and lecturers. We have trained 1,700 mentors in schools, universities, churches, and communities using the ELNET mentoring material. We have field-tested material for teaching ethical values for leadership and business, even to teens. We've organized mentoring events in many high schools, universities, churches, and their campuses. We support mentoring of youth leaders in partnership with other ministries and churches through our manual called Nimeamua Kuwa Ethical. This is a manual that is designed specifically just for youth. And you can hear the acronym Nimeamua Kuwa Ethical. And these youth have amuad to be ethical. And therefore, there is hope in Kenya that we are breeding a future society of leaders grounded on ethics and integrity. What are the plans of and the activities of the mentoring group? The mentoring group has open days where we create awareness about our mentorship programs, and we share our goals of the ELNET mentoring team. Some of the things we do in these open forums are, why do we mentor? How do we mentor? Who do we mentor? And what areas do we mentor on? And in the future, we want to set up an online mentoring program, both live and pre-recorded sessions, and also provide them in different languages, and have an online platform that actively engages people in mentoring, evangelism, and life questions. The third group, I hope I'm not giving you too many stories, but the third group is the business group. You're with me so far? The first group is governance. The second group we are talking about, right. Then we have the business group, to which me and my friend Charles belong. The mission here is to promote ethical values and empower people to run businesses ethically while seeking to transform their industries. And that might sound like a tall order, but believe it or not, it is happening. We want to change the culture in different industries. It doesn't have to be, I don't know whether it was in the press about adulterated fuel. Amongst the business people in ELNET is an awardee who is in the petroleum industry. And we can testify of that particular business person. If you go to their petrol station, he runs a chain of petrol stations, and we can attest that the fuel in that petrol station has a mark of ethics. So the business group has come up with 30 ethical practices for which we award a mark of ethics. We have the Business Leaders Forum that meets monthly, where we have leaders who meet to synergize, to strategize, and to talk about ethics and integrity, and remove this narrative that to do business in Kenya you have to be what? Corrupt. And then, since majority of us are Christians, we have this church business connection. It is said that Christians talk a lot, but they don't network. Everybody is in their own small world. We don't talk about what we do. We have this church business connection where we have a manual and train business people in churches on the 30 ethical practices. Then we have a mark of ethics in Kenya. A mark of ethics, where we actually award people for being ethical. This is an award given to organizations and leaders after an assessment process. So far, we have 22 leaders and 18 businesses that have received this award. And as I said, these are not myths. I think we have some of our awardees here. Willie Simon, I can see you. Is any other awardee? Please stand up. These are awardees of ELNET. That is Mr. Justin Kimani, a civil servant in the Kiambu County, who actually qualified for the mark of ethics. A round of applause for Mr. Willie, for Mr. Justin Kimani. Mr. Willie Simon was the CEO of, I don't know if you can remind me. I'm forgetting the name. He's the CEO of, it was a research, I think, GIS. And there is an awardee of ours. So it is possible in Kenya to have a mark of ethics. And I'll actually tell you why we need an ethical assessment. One, there's a scarcity of leaders of integrity in all areas. You will agree with me? Or you don't agree with me? There's a scarcity of leaders of integrity in all areas. There's deteriorating morals and values in all areas of society. There's a prevalent mindset that you cannot succeed unless you do what? You join the crowd, isn't it? And we have few positive role models that are influencing our youth negatively. Now, in order for these awardees of ours to get the mark of ethics, this is what they must go through. The leaders must attain an average of 80% ethical practice perception rating by 25 respondents from the following categories: spouse, children, close relatives and friends, business associates, senior and junior staff members, board members, and key business leaders. So you can see this leader is scrutinized to the core, but of course this is consensual. It's not, it's not forced. And we also have a criteria for assessing businesses. The business needs to attain an average of 80% ethical practice perception, rating by around 30 respondents from the following categories. Customers, so if you don't pay your suppliers, suppliers, senior management, junior staff, board members, and competitors in the industry. After having a perception of 80% from 30 correspondents, that is when we issue the mark of ethics. A business group desires to have, and these are some of the things we do. We are now going to go into training on a quarterly basis. We visit churches and train leaders, and we are going to have online campaigns to create awareness. We have our monthly BLF meetings, which enhance this and to build membership. 3 groups in ELNET: governance, mentoring, and business. Okay? I'm sure in this crowd we can identify with one or the other and we can tap in. How do you participate in ELNET? At the registration desk today, you can join a committee in governance, in mentoring, or in business. Number 2, you can pray with us as ELNET. Number 3, you can support financially. You can participate in ELNET activities and webinars, and tell someone about ELNET and share about us on social media. We want to join us in pursuing the transformation of Kenya's businesses and societal culture to ethical leadership and ethical business through enduring values. God bless you, and I hope you do not forget the 3 categories. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Elder Lally. Now we understand what ELNET is all about. When I joined ELNET, that is over 10 years ago, and I was learning a business because I was invited to the meeting. I remember I was so much moved by the presentation of how you can do business ethically in Kenya. And I remember I went and I had to redo my company. When you ask me for the, we call it a company what? Profile. Yes, the company profile. And I had to include as part of my policy. Policy number 1, anti-corruption policy. How my organization subscribes to ELNET's ethical practices. And we are unashamedly ethical. And I'm happy because I know here there are some staff members that we work with and they can attest to that. Maybe my expectation was we are really going to get a lot of business when we say we are ethical. But I can assure you that we have given the profile to some people and they called. Sawa nyinyi mnasema mko ethical, tutafanya biashara aje. But I am not ashamed of the fact that I can stand and say I want to do business and do it in the correct way. And if you're here, you're a business person. I actually head the business leaders forum in ELNET. So kindly come see me. Let's see how we can come together and encourage each other to do business ethically. It's possible. We meet twice a month to pray over your business. If you have those concerns and you don't know who to share with, you have been asked for a bribe, come and we'll pray together. And after that, we'll have another meeting to give testimonies of how God is fighting for us in the marketplace. Praise the Lord. Amen. Now it's my singular honor to welcome, this is the man I found when I came to the ELNET meeting. He's a founder and he's a champion. And I want to welcome him. He's also going to invite our speakers. So brothers and sisters, join me. Let's give a hand as we welcome Elder John Nganga. Thank you.
We are not very old. When he calls me founder, you might think I'm a brother of Noah. But we just started about 15 years ago. I think I'm loud enough. Okay. About 15 years ago is when a number of us met and asked the question, are we going to allow Kenya to go the direction it's going, where the average young person assumes if you are driving a big car, you must be corrupt? Am I right about that assumption? They know there's no way you could have bought that car if you are not corrupt. In fact, they think you are joking when you tell them to be, to have integrity. And so we started meeting, and the first thing was to define how does a company organization of integrity look like. We took about 6 to 9 months just meeting as business people every month, meeting at Nairobi Club to debate how does it look like. That's how we arrived at 15 statements, which if you say yes to, then your business or organization can be regarded as ethical. Our intention in calling ourselves Ethical Leadership Network, the idea is those who are interested in ethics should have a network, because it's in the network we will create a critical mass. And once you have the critical mass, I am told by those who are cleverer than me, that if 20% of us agreed on something, we can overrun the other 80. The trouble with Kenya is you don't have the 20% that can overrun. The 80 just go whichever direction. And so I'm hoping that in this meeting, all of us who have turned up on a very cold after evening will make a commitment. Don't move out of this compound before you get your name registered in one of the 3 groups. Do you want us to influence the politics, the governance? Register your name at the last one. If you want us to deal with the business, register that one. If your interest is preventive, to stop young people coming before they are converted. Are you getting the picture? And there are people who they have given up on the old people like me. They just want to deal with the younger people. And they are called mentoring. So they go from university to university. We have trained several of the political leadership of universities to help the universities instill in the young people the possibility that you can be a leader with integrity. So we are hoping with those 3-pronged area that we are going to cover the country, and you have done that. You can see, for example, when Vision 2030 came, our governance group went and looked at the structure, the pillars, and went and told, the group, the leadership, just decided to visit Vision 2030 and said, which house have you ever had with the pillars and no foundation? So the leaders asked, what do you mean by foundation? Says all these pillars, if they don't have values as foundation, the house will collapse. And those people listened to us, said, what do you mean? Can you prepare? So we helped prepare what later came to be discussed by Parliament as our values, came from the Vision 2030 discussion on creating a foundation. And we can give various other examples of the things that have been done. So I'm hoping out of this meeting, we'll get a crowd of people in each one of the group, and you can even come up with new ideas of how to speed up influencing society. By the way, we are quite aware, that's why we are aiming at 20%. We are quite aware the majority will not change. That's why we are looking for this critical mass that can overrun the 80%. You know, the reason why people are unethical, and I'm not the expert in that area, we have asked the commission, the Anti-Corruption Commission to come and talk to us, is that everybody assumes everybody is corrupt. In fact, that's why they don't feel guilty. After all, everybody is. The day they discover a guy who is not corrupt, they get confused. From that moment, they have no reason to be corrupt. Because there is even one person out of 100 that is not corrupt. And that's why we need to come together. And especially, one of the things I'm hoping is that you invite your organization will invite us to come and do the assessment on the level of ethics of your organization. You know, if you have organization ethical, you say yes, but we need a clear scientific way of checking whether you truly ethical. And once you're ethical, we place you just like the KEBS gives the Diamond mark of quality, we give the ethical mark of ethics. And you can, if you go to our website, www.elnet.org, you will see the list of people that this far have been certified, and you can go to them, and if they are unethical, report back to us. Because by appearing in our list, it means they have committed to be ethical. I thought I would add that one so that it's clear what you are expecting out of this meeting. However, the reason we called this meeting was because we wanted to give the anti-corruption people opportunity to convert us. In other words, if you are ethical, you are in the right place. we just hope there will be a few of you who are ethical so that they can actually listen as the anti-corruption people tell us, because that's one of their major deliverables, to help people who are not corrupt not to be corrupt. And so that's why we asked the chair to come, and with all it's just, when it's still hot, he has only been there a few months, to come and tell us exactly what has he come up with that can help this country to actually be ethical. However, as we talked just now, he rang me a little earlier in the afternoon and said he has been called to the big house. Can I pray that you'll be released in time? I can't see him up to now, but the meeting will go on. Are we together? Because he sent a commissioner to represent him, and all of us would like this meeting to go on. Of course, I'm still praying that he will appear in time, but even if he doesn't appear, it runs as a commission. So if one commissioner is there, she may not have been ready with the questions, but I've just been preparing her psychologically to be ready. That she will be able to answer, and we also help. We will form a kind of a panel and actually deal with it. However, we also know another organization that is interested in governance, the Certified Public Secretaries. Their major job is to ensure organizations are well governed. And so I've asked the CEO to come and say a few words, and then invite Dr. Mutuku, who is also a member of his organization, to continue from there. Thank you.
Good evening. Thank you, Brother John Ganga. My name is Jeremiah Karaja. At the Institute, we call ourselves CSs. But for me, I have gone beyond CS. I'm FCS. CS is not cabinet secretary, though we also aspire to be certified secretaries. There are people who call us satisfied secretaries. We also satisfied. FCS means fellow certified secretary. Now with me is a few of our council members and also our members of the Institute. So I want to request, if you are a member of the Institute of Certified Secretaries, kindly stand up so that we acknowledge your presence. Thank you very much. Thank you. You can see there are quite a number, including the member who was awarded by ELNET, FCS Justin Kimani, who is also a member of one of the boards at the Institute. Because I may not give all of them a chance, while they are still studying, allow me just to mention a few of them who are in the council, and then that one will represent the rest. We have FCS George Adhiambo here. George Adhiambo is a council member. We have Dr. Mutuma behind there. Dr. Wayne Mutuma is an architect, is a lawyer, is a certified secretary, is a professional mediator, and so many other things. Is also a member of the council. We have another man behind there, William Kema. William Kema is also a council member. The rest are members of the Institute. We also have a number of staff members. We acknowledge you and we appreciate you. Thank you very much. Now, the Institute of Certified Secretaries is a statutory professional body. By statutory, I mean is created on an Act of Parliament, Cap 534 of the laws of Kenya. And our statutory mandate is to promote governance in the public and private sector. That's what we do. So our members called certified secretaries, maybe you have some of them in your organizations. If it's a private company, you call them company secretary. In some, they are called board secretaries. In state corporations, they are called corporation secretaries, but the general name is corporate secretaries. So what they do or how they serve and help your organizations is to support your board and management on matters governance and matters ethics. And therefore, the discussion we are having today is very dear to the profession because our members are charged with that in their respective organizations. Is therefore very worrying sometimes to us as the Institute when we see all these unethical conducts in some of our institutions because we know we are the center of it as the profession charged on matters governance and ethics. We are very keen in playing our rightful role, and that's why when Brother John Nganga sent me this brochure for this event, I told him we must partner in this. And I have listened to the presentation on ELNET. Maybe previously I had not followed keenly what ELNET does. And I'm very interested on partnering. And now that we have our council members here, they can even make a resolution while you are still seated here that the institute will be partnering with ELNET and also the university, because actually what you are doing is very closely related to what we do. Dr. Mutuma there is in charge of a committee responsible for issues of research, capacity building, and other areas related to governance. One of the things that he has been pushing me is a creation of a governance academy. And Daktari, I can see we already have one here. I think we should be approaching them instead of duplicating issues and see how we partner with them on this noble task. Again, when I say Dr. Mutuma, it reminds me last week, but we were with him. You know, in public sector, we like something called benchmarking. So we went to benchmark in United Arab Emirates last week, but and we are in a city called Dubai. And we met the Kenyan ambassador there. And he told us many stories. But one of the most memorable things, he told us that he had a delegation, or rather he was meeting some government officials in UAE. And that is the time that Kenya was struggling with food crisis and all that. And they asked him, what is wrong with you Kenyans? You have been an ambassador in this country for more than 13 years. Since you came here, you have never seen this country rain. It has rained for less than 2 years, for 13 years, only less than 2 times. And the times it rained for the entire 13 years, the rains never lasted for more than 2 minutes. Yet you guys, we normally watch you on TV being carried away by floods. Now you are facing a drought, you are dying because of hunger, because rains have not come for less than 2 years. What is the challenge? And the host continued telling him, one of the issues that you must deal with as Kenyans and Africans generally is only one issue, is your only challenge, ethics. If you address the issue of ethics, you don't require any support from any person, because in UAE, they import 98.8% of all their food stuff. During the COVID time, 2022 and 2021, they had closed all their borders, their airspaces, everything. You could not access the country. Yet they had food stuff which lasted them for the 3 years without importing anything. And they were saying that they were ready to proceed for another 5 years without importing anything because they had already stored food enough to last them for around 7 years. We had a discussion with some of the government officials there, and they are telling us in their next plan, I think starting next year, they are creating food reserves to last them for 15 years. That is to say, if anything happens, and that they borrowed from the COVID experience, If anything happens, they can stay for 15 years without importing anything because they are net importer. But also the interesting thing that we noted in that country is the level of discipline. And mind you, in that country, and I know quite a number of you visited there, is a country made of 11 million people. Of those 11 million, only 2 million are locals. The rest, 9 million, come from all over the world. There are a lot of black people there. So what they are telling us, the same Kenyans who steal back at home, when they come here, they don't steal. And he told us, you dare leave even if it's 10 billion Kenyan shillings or US dollars here. Next week, you find your money the exact place. And there are Kenyans and Nigerians who are here. So he asked us, what is really the problem? So that is a question I also don't know. But it shows that all the challenges we have is only on this issue that we are discussing about ethics. And therefore, if we can address that, that will be very helpful. ELNET, I have noted that you also do ethics. You've said assessments. The Institute runs an award we call the Champions of Governance Award. In fact, the person who is to be our chief guest, hoping that he makes it, at one particular time when he was a bishop of a church, he got an award as the best governed religious organization. And the award looks at various parameters. We usually don't ask spouses. I doubt how many people can pass if we ask the spouses like you. So we don't go there. We restrict ourselves to office matters. But looking at the Champions of Governance Award and what you run on ethics, I think is an area that we can partner. Actually, and bring on board Eacc and other institutions that deal with ethics, just to assess the area of ethics and give awards because we actually do that. I'm also interested in what you mentioned about mentorship. 2 years ago, we launched something we call Governance Ethics Mentorship Program. And last year, we started with a cohort of 50, who we take for a whole 1 year. This year, we started with we had a cohort, or rather we are running a cohort of 100. Actually, some of the people who have stood here are members of that cohort. Again, looking, because somebody commented and said the challenge with Africa is that we are a bit disorganized. Everybody tries to do their small things in their small corner. So ELNET is doing something small on ethics. EACC, they are bit. ICS, they are bit. The university, they are bit. We never come together to see how can we join hands so that we can create an impact. And I think one of the things we must get out of this place, including the participants here, is to see how do we join hands on this battle on unethical practices. Without further ado, allow me to introduce Dr. Cecilia Mutuku. CS Dr. Cecilia Mutuku is a member of the Institute. In the Institute, we talk about good studying. To being good studying is not the opposite of being seated. It means that she is well behaved. She has no disciplinary case pending at the Institute. She has paid her subscriptions. She attends trainings and all those other things. And she is ethical. CS Dr. Mutuku for a long time worked with KEBS for many years. And we partnered with KEBS when she was there. In charge of quality assurance and many other things. And we also worked together in the Champions of Governance Award. Until, I think, was it last year, but one, when she was appointed as a commissioner at EACC. For the benefit of those who may not be aware how commissions operate, because in my other hat, I happen also to be a lawyer. A commission is not the secretariat. It's not the CEO and staff of EACC, it's the commissioners. So when there is no chairman and commissioners, EACC does not exist and cannot function. Unlike in a company where you can continue with your business even without a board of directors. So when she is here, one, representing the chair, but also as a commissioner of EACC, now you understand that she is at the core of what EACC does. CS Dr. Mutuku, in addition to being a CS, she is also a member of IHRM, the Institute of Human Resource Management. It is my singular pleasure, ladies and gentlemen, to request you to put your hearts together, as we welcome CS Dr. Mutuku. I did not tell you to clap. I told you to put your hearts together. Then separate them. Then put them together. Good. Karibu.
Thank you, my CEO. As you've been told, I'm a member of ICS. Thank you, Dr. Kirui, the VC here, and our chairman for this wonderful institution. As we've been told, I'm not the one who appeared, or maybe who brought you here today. I also registered like you, and today we were having a meeting with our chair, and I told him I'll come to offer you moral support. Yeah, but I'm very happy of what is happening at the moment, and I believe we are in the right track. Otherwise, as you've been told, I'm Dr. Cecilia Mutuku. I'm a HR by profession. I've seen many people I know here. I'm also a CS. Just a background of how I got to EACC, a bit of it. When a politician looks at a group, they see voters. When I look at the team ahead, I see partners. Because in the war of corruption, you cannot win alone. So I don't know when we registered whether we were waiting to hear solutions from our chair or we were coming to offer the solutions. I would really encourage to hear as many feedback, as many input from us as possible. Currently, we are doing our strategic plan. We are finalized. We are just waiting for the stakeholder engagement. And at EACC, as we've been told, I've been there for the last 8 months or so. But my journey with the EACC started in, can I say, 2018. As you've been told, I worked at Kenya Bureau of Standards. And we had organized for a CEO's breakfast. In this CEO's breakfast, we wanted to encourage CEOs to be the champions of quality in their institutions, whether it's services, whether it's products, whatever it is. And in that meeting, there was one of the directors from EACC. My presentation was on anti-bribery management. That was in 2018. There's a standard on anti-bribery management system. It's a ISO 37001. And I can say I have been a champion of that standard, preaching it wherever I go. Last year, I was discussing about it in East Africa. And after the meeting, he approached me. And he told me he was interested in the standard. So we discussed a bit and exchanged some contacts. But what I realized from where I was, I thought if we work very closely with EACC, we'd be able to champion this anti-corruption or anti-bribery standard. So we offered, I and my team, we offered to train the prevention team and the top leadership on the standard for free. I convinced my leaders at KEPS that let's train them for free so that they buy in, because that will be about partnership and will be assisting our country. So it was just before COVID. That's when we did that. Then COVID struck and we were about to do a partnership or to sign an MOU so that we could help in creating more information and knowledge. On a personal basis, I have passion for the private sector, public sector. I've all along worked in the public sector. I've never worked in the private. So, and it's just where my passion is. I don't know, maybe because of the responsibility. I say I'm a self-servant. I'm a public servant. I know most people who deal with the public servants ask us, are you self-servants or you are public servants? Because there are many reasons why people get into opportunities of leadership in the public service. And as we have seen it all over, we read in newspapers every day, we have taken it up as a self-service. You are given an opportunity to serve the public, and what we do, it becomes my opportunity to serve myself. So I think that's why I have that passion, because I feel driven to be in that space of promoting governance. I met Dr. Tari through my daughter, who was at one of the M issues studying at MUA, Dr. Kirui. And she told me, there's one lecturer, he really talks about integrity. That was my daughter. I told her, give me the contact. So she had to look for him, and since then we became very good friends. And I met FCS also because one time I attended his program and I could feel the passion. So we connected. So as I sit between the two of them, they are personal friends because we are driving the same agenda. So that's what that's how I started promoting governance and being a champion of anti-bribery standards even before joining EACC. So I trust that our chairman will be joining us, but before then, I can just reflect back and say today we had a meeting and we were just talking about strategies. You know, sometimes you look and you wonder, you know, you read 2 billion, then you hear 3 billion, then, okay. So we have just been talking and saying really we need strategies, and we agreed that for any impact, for us to be impactful in what we are doing, because we have committed ourselves to do the best. We know Kenyans are looking at us and we are also looking at ourselves. We said for this war to be won, it starts from the top. And the chair we were joking and we said, you know, now we have to start from the top. And you can see we are at the top. Do you agree? Do you agree? Yeah, we are at the top. Yeah, so we discussed it today and we have made an appointment, and that's where the chair is, because we said you can't win this without starting from the top. We are very grateful to God. He was very surprised that it happened so fast. We didn't expect it to happen today after the meeting, and that's why we are where we are. I head the prevention committee at EACC. We have 5 committees, but I head the prevention one, and I believe that is the way to go. I know when you hear about us, mostly you see about the fight. I'm not in the fighting side. I don't fight. I'm in the prevention. I say the prevention is better than cure. But I highly respect that mandate because we have also used it as a prevention. Because when we see what is happening, especially on the issues of asset recovery, we are able to, we have seen it as a deterrent. In fact, last week our CEO was in the US and he was making a presentation on what Kenya is doing on that issue of asset tracing. We are recognized as one of the countries which is really steering this, and we have been called to give presentations in international forums. Another issue, what we do really, and where my passion is, as I said, when politicians look at you, they see voters. I'm seeing collaborators. I'm seeing partners. I'm seeing people to work with. We are working with MOUs, and yesterday we were at a meeting with the Transparency International just to see how we can work together. And tomorrow, our ICS and his team, they are visiting EACC because we, as he has said, everybody is discovering things being done from this university, which they are also doing. So why are we doing duplication? So we are trying really to encourage that partnership so that we are working and we are talking the same language. 2 weeks ago, we had a partnership also with IPOA, where we were training, the procurement regulatory authority. We were training the procurement team on issues of governance, because we have realized 80% of the cases we are handling have a lot to do with the procurement issues. So we are following that path to ensure that really we are working together with all partners. And I propose when we come together, please let's, I know we are a bit skeptical. You know, we can announce and we say we are working together. Then tomorrow you're on the headlines. You know, you have done. So it's a very thin line, because you also don't want to get into a partnership. And also it has been realized that some of the people seeking partnerships want them for other things. So that's why maybe they will be slow, because sometimes you can sign today, and remember the other time there was an award which was withdrawn. You know, you don't want now we are there in the media, then tomorrow again we are there investigating the issue. So we are really very keen on how to handle this. There's something else really which we are working very closely with, and we are helping institutions, especially the counties, on issues of policies, procedures, and good governance structures. I had an opportunity 2 weeks ago to visit 3 counties in Western. And I'm sure you hear it all the time. Even I see it, I mean, my groups, you know, my old girls or university groups. And when things go wrong, I see people asking, where is EACC? And I just keep quiet. Now, what do I say? Why am I saying this? The expectation is too much. And we cannot do this alone. We cannot. That's why we want to work together as teams so that we promote ethical leadership. One thing I've had as we move around is, what are you doing about our children? And for sure, we have clubs. We have clubs. I had an opportunity a few months ago just to listen to some of the children, how they are benefiting from integrity clubs, which we have established in institutions. And we would encourage you in your villages, in your home countries, let's see how to promote some of these clubs so that the children whom we are raising are children of integrity. But my question is, I remember a teacher who shared a testimony. It was a teacher from a school in Embakasi, a gentleman. And he said after COVID, after the long holiday, because he runs an integrity club in his school, all the girls came back. None was expectant or anything, because they have really instilled discipline among them. I said that was something to celebrate, because you know what happened during that COVID season. Yeah, so I can assure you, as one of us has said, there are ethical leaders still among us. But what happens? Those who have tried to be ethical in your workplaces, it's like a straight tree in a crooked forest. When you want to cut, what do you cut? What do you cut in the forest? Yeah, you target the straight tree. That's what ethical leaders are going through today. Yeah, because the forest is so crooked. Yeah, but we say even if it's that 20%, even if it's that 1%, those are the ones we are going to work with. I'm not saying that we are holier than thou, and I train on ethics, I train on governance. And one of the first slides, we have somebody pointing like this. You know, we are very good at saying who? The government, isn't it? You say the government, the CEO, everybody. But 3 fingers are pointing at myself. It's time we start evaluating ourselves. As we point others, let's know that we also have a responsibility to play. So let's go back to the re-examination board and ask ourselves, what role models are we? And it's becoming a challenge, and that's what the teachers have been sharing. We train the students because we have integrity clubs even in the universities. But what happens when you are driving and the policeman stops you and the children are at the back? You imagine they don't see what happens? So what will you tell them? Huh? So it starts with us. It's a walk. It's an integrity walk, which starts with us. We might train, we might preach, we might do what, but unless, I personally say it's a personal decision which we are supposed to make, and I believe us who are represented here, we can make the difference in the different institutions where we are leading. So the issues of values, you know, when we say EACC, the first thing is ethics. So I really wish, you said you do audits on ethics. That is an area really which we really need to go back to the drawing board and see what we are doing. What are we doing when no one is watching me? That's what it's about, ethics. We are also working on issues to do with the corruption, risk assessments. And this we are doing mostly in counties. Most of the government parastatals, we have realized they have systems and structures. But the counties, that's where really we are trying to work closely together to see how to improve their processes. And so far we have done in 27 counties. It's mixed feelings. You go and you do the assessment and you give the reports, and then after that you see what is coming out. But I believe it's a journey. We say on another side, as a prevention team, that we are the preachers, and we will continue preaching as we hold together, all of us. We are using data-based decision making, and that's why we are undertaking corruption. We are undertaking surveys or research. And I've realized when we go to these counties mostly, they want to know, what was my rating? How are we rated? And when we share, they say, do the respondents, did they understand? Is that for national or it's county? You know, now it becomes another debate. What was the methodology? What, you know, so really we work very closely with the National Bureau of Statistics, and we do thorough investigations. So this time when we have been going around sharing the results, it has not affected many because it was not them. You know, it was done, but now we are doing it now. And we are telling them what is happening is now your time. It's happening during your time. So we are trying to use data. We are trying to use statistics. You have seen us releasing a lot of results. We did the other time health. We generated a lot of debates. And yesterday I was listening to the survey which was released, and it had to do with some, there's a county which was ranked #1 on an issue. I don't want to go to which one. And the same county is the one which has been ranked as the highest in bribery. So I was asking myself, what is happening in this county? And I said, the population which is getting out of there, and I think we need to take a deliberate effort to go there. Because it can't be, out of 47, it's only your county which is pulling behind on every negativity. What is happening? So actually what came to my mind was the young people in that area, and I was saying, what role, what is happening? What is happening? And I said I'll take it upon myself to see how we can reach out into this county, because when you see figures just coming up, the same place, you know, you can be number 10 and but if you are the last all the time, Those are major pointers, and those are researches which have been done by different institutions. When it's done by the UNODC, that is the UN, you are the same in health. When it's done by EACC, you are the same. When it's then it seems that the leadership, there's a major problem. So those are some of the things which we are trying to do, and mostly we are focused on the counties because we have realized that that's where they are newer than most institutions which have been established longer. I would wish when the bishop comes, because we have realized today we are discussing and we are talking about the decay in faith and morals and things like that. And I remember somebody commenting and saying the most religious countries in the world are the most corrupt. And he gave an example of, I don't like sometimes pointing, but since he said Nigeria and which one? Yeah. Yeah, he said the countries with the highest Islam and highest Christianity are the most corrupt. So even as the bishop comes, if he'll manage to join us, if he doesn't, I'm sure we'll always have other forums. What is it? What is it? And we have realized there's a disconnect. There's a disconnect between what we are practicing and what we are saying. We have been having a lot of faith-based interactions. And I remember the bishop was proposing, I can share some of the things he was saying. He was saying before the International Anti-Corruption Day, which is in December, we should have 100 days of no bribery. You know, for Christians, prayer and fasting. Now we preach, don't take a bribe. And they were saying even it should go to the village, even those who are adding water into the milk, because it's everybody. It is everybody. We were saying we should just create that awareness. These 100 days, let's not do those corrupt things wherever we are. So we are just sharing some of those things today. And you realize that when we employ, we want people meet chapter 6, we want all those niceties. But are we practicing them? Where are we getting them from? So it's time to go back as individuals, it's time to go back as organizations, it's time to go back and ask ourselves, those people we are looking for, if it's not us, where are we getting them from? Because I'm sure even knowing for the ladies, we want house helps or whatever managers. You want integrity. Somebody will take care. They'll not steal from you. But where I am, where I'm entrusted, am I doing that? So really this is a moral issue. It's a moral conversation we should all have. And I believe as we live here, we'll be asking ourselves some of these questions. We are trying to launch, we have already launched in some places integrity assurance officers. And you can imagine in an institution, if you offer yourself as an integrity assurance officer, you know, you should be like Caesar's wife, should be above board, yeah? Yeah, so that, so those are some of the things. We are trying to create champions. We have been training a lot. And I think every week we are training like 3 institutions, and I'm asking myself, beyond the training, what next? Are we practicing what we are what we are learning, or it's to tick a box? For those in the public sector, you know, this was one of the targets in the performance contract, and I'm very glad. I say I'm very glad it has been removed, so that we practice integrity, not just to tick a box. Did you have a meeting? You tick. Having a meeting doesn't mean there is any change. So now we are encouraging institutions to make deliberate effort and deliberate institutions led by the top. And I believe here, I've had a chairman of universities, I'm sure there are CEOs. We are leaders in our different ways. Please, when we go back, I'm encouraging that we work together in this war, because it can't be won by EACC alone. One other thing which I need to add is about advisories, where we have been issuing advisories. As I've said, we go to institutions, we check their systems, and we are realizing that there are certain trends be it in HR, be it in supply chain, whatever projects. And we are communicating that information. We are using it so that after we gather, can I say sampling several places, then we use the extend analysis, and we say that if it's happening in this place, there's a very high possibility that it's also happening in another place. I've seen some people taking it very positively. The only challenge sometimes, some of these things of prevention, they're not enforceable. So we leave it to the leadership of the organizations to ensure that they follow through, and we are not there really to police on everything. As a prevention person, when I go, I tell them we are like John, we are the forerunners. We come to preach. So when you reject the Savior, then there are consequences. So we are encouraging that really we take these initiatives, and I would ask Vice Chancellor Daktari and CEO, if we were to run for those awards, I don't know, how many of us who can offer themselves to be evaluated on ethics? We have seen our winner there. Oh, I can see some hands. Yes, yeah. I worked for over 30 years, and I realized when you try to maintain the straight and the narrow, and then one day something like this happens, what does it become? It is blown out of proportion. But the usual criminals, let me call them criminals, yeah, it's business as usual. So I'm here really to encourage us all. Let's feel encouraged, and we look forward to hearing ideas from you, sharing from you, and I trust Vice Chancellor, maybe now we can hear feedback from the team. Thank you so much. God bless you. May we walk the talk as the leaders of Kenya today. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Commissioner Dr. Mutuko. We appreciate. Yes, let's give her a hand. She's done a good job. Yeah. Thank you. So we are setting a panel as we lead ourselves to take questions. I'm sure you came loaded with questions. We are still optimistic that Bishop will be joining us, and but in the meantime we will still be able to handle, we have a team that will be able to handle whatever questions there may be. So kindly, I would wish to request you at this juncture to prepare to ask questions. For those of us with questions, kindly, it's time to air your questions.
Recommend what the EACC can do.
Okay, I understand it's not just questions, but also recommendations, recommendations on what needs to be done. Yes, we have 3 panelists. We can take like 5 questions and then we tackle them, and then we take the next batch of questions. We should be done by 7:30. That's an assurance we are giving you. So, it's time for questions. Yes, let's start from this corner. I can see we already have 5 questions. So I don't know whether we can have yes. Do you have a mic that can call out? Since the forum is still being aired online, we are requesting those with questions. If you don't mind, kindly come so that we are able to use the mic. Those online, they will be able to listen to the question, and then the panelists will handle. Kindly, let's just come here, if you don't mind. Yes, we can use the phone.
You can come this side, please.
Yes. Introduce yourself, just say the name, and then you can air your question.
Good evening. My name is Hussein Roba. I am I'm a businessman, but about 5 years ago, I happened to be in county government as a Speaker of County Assembly of Isiolo. And I think I'm a very lucky man today because I've met the Commissioner in charge of prevention. And the last county they have done risk assessment was my county. I've never appeared on national television. And that time, I appeared on KTN live, and I was a very happy man because all my life I was in private sector and I joined the government, and what I found was nothing but corruption. And when EACC came, I was very happy that today I air out what is there. So in the risk assessment, when the officers came, we gave them the actual practice in the assembly, the actual practice against the standard PFM Act, against the Constitution, and we are very happy and we celebrated and it was televised. So I prepared my file and told them this is the risk and this is what we are going to do to prevent, to minimize the risk. It was very difficult even to assess the EACC office itself because they are running away from me. When I give them even that, the forms, they no one want to accept. And even last week I was asking someone in EACC that what can we do? That these guys came here, this is the 27 counties, they are going around all over, risking assessment, and there's no follow-up. Nothing. That county assembly now is nothing but corruption at its best. And even I tell them, no, but this is what is our recommendation. Then the office in Isiolo tell us, you have to go to the headquarters. Because they don't have enough staff. But I was asking, but why is your office here? Why do you have a regional office here? And I think that is why now, today I'm very lucky because I think I'm going to meet her face to face and discuss with her what is there. I happened to work in Rwanda somehow. I think the Singapore of Africa. And corruption can only be stopped at the top. Nothing else. We don't have, in fact, I don't want to talk much about it. Unless we tackle up there and say, we reset the button for corruption, anti-corruption. We don't have to waste our time all the time talking about corruption. We cannot talk about Sepabo because Mohamed Mazir sacrificed his life. He never wanted to build his house. So if a leader who wants to be rich, today the people who stay in Karen and Lavington and Mudaiga are people working either in Treasury or Control of Budget or Auditor General or EACC. Including anti-corruption fellas. So sometimes I think we have to lower down our tones because if you remember took on corruption and he was Aliwekwa Dam all over. Just one day, 100,000, he paid in Harape, finished him. We all know. And we know he was an innocent man. So I think that is my take. So if you want, I want to, in fact, I have a communication as a speaker when I left out and give a very serious communication on the level of corruption in the counties because first of all, even the Constitution, while the Constitution says Article number 176, I'm not a lawyer, I'm a scientist, but says the county government consists of county assembly and the county executive. But the assembly does not have autonomy to run its own finances. It is part of the county executive. So that makes assembly handcuffed to oversight the county government. By the end of the day, they become part of the county government. These are some of the things we have to look into to change some of this. Okay, and so I think I don't have to talk much. I'll discuss with you the chair, the commissioner in charge of prevention. We'll talk a lot, but I think we don't even have to talk about anti-corruption online. I think it's something to be discussed undercover. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
very brief. Good evening. My name is Kano Kingangi, former member of parliament in Bere South. I hope that doesn't betray me. I've got two questions. One, there's a phenomenon, I think it was first described by the former Auditor General, and I think it was articulated by David D. called budgeted corruption. And I'm talking like this, being one of the fellows who was doing budgeting for the last 5 years. And I wonder, the Commissioner, what we are doing about this. I think from the articulation of DA, it's like he was accepting that there is something called budgeted corruption. The second question is this. We came to listen to corruption, what is needed to win the war. Has the war been declared? Because it's until you declare war that you know which lines not to cross. I think we can spend a lot of time here talking about the wonderful stories. I am from, in my past life, I think I better repeat that question the Bishop asked. Most of us came to listen to the Bishop. Now that he's here, we came to hear about corruption and what is needed to win the war. And my question is, has that war been declared? Because it's until you declare the war that you know the parameters. I grew up in the military. And once you declare war, that's when you get allies. And when you draw the maps, everybody is either red or blue. There is no gray. And until the war is declared, then we can talk about allies and the enemy. And once you declare war and you know the enemy, in the military you don't say kill the enemy. You say clear the target. You're not killing anybody. If there are very many, you say, this is a target-rich area. This is what you need to clear the target. It only happens when you declare the war. So those are my two questions. I'll repeat the first one. Yeah. Yeah. I wanted the Bishop to hear. The rest of you had. Yeah. Since my questions are very short, I will repeat the first one. About a phenomena which was described by Edward Ouko and articulated by David D. called budgeted corruption. Budgeted corruption. The question is, what are we doing about that? Because if it is budgeted corruption, and the way to describe is that there's an elite network who collaborate for a what do we call it? Symbiotic relationship with the powers that be for mutual benefit to insert in a budget the money that we expect. So we can come back and preach anti-corruption, but we know we will milk the cow from the fence. We already created a hole in the fence. Why are we going to milk the cow? So what is it that we're going to do about this? Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you. Yes, I hope we'll make our... Can we make our questions, just one question, kindly, one question each? Yes, one question, 1 minute, at least or less, eh? Yeah, thank you, please.
Thank you very much. My name is Bonarori Nyakina. I work with the Capital, Fusion Capital. Fusion Capital has won business ethical awards in previous years. So my question is, corruption has played a very big role in undermining competition, business competition, and inflation in cost. So what has the EACC done to, manage that in terms of the high cost of living? Thank you very much.
Thank you. I hope you're recording those questions. Thank you. Next.
Good evening. My name is Michael Mutinda, Organizing Secretary for Dasili. And my question is this, because this is an answered prayer, and thank you, ELNET, and all the organizations that have put this together. My question is this: will today begin the work of putting together a kingdom system of good people to deal with systemic evil? Thank you.
Wow, thank you. As precise as that.
My name is Washira Masharia, an architect. If I look a bit sleepy, it's because I've driven from Dar es Salaam, where appreciation of what a president who decides he's changing a system as Magufuli has done has. So for me, my question, and also my encouragement, when I'm told you're dealing with the president, I'm like, take your time, because my expectation is that if it happens at that top and it's demonstrated at that level, then the trickle-down effect becomes very clear. Thank you.
Greetings, everyone. My name is Maureen Thiriko. I'm a journalist with over 20 years experience. My question goes to Reverend Oginde, Bishop Oginde, sorry. Yes, you have managed to set up a very nice media station. That was your brainchild. What can we do to motivate and help younger journalists to be ethical and not corrupt? Thank you.
Good. Ethics in the media.
Thank you so much. Good evening. My name is Dr. Dina Mwenzi. I'm a Vice Chancellor, KAG East University, a sister institution to this one, and a long-term educationist. My question is, what has ELNET done to ensure that we incorporate corruption into the curriculum, starting from basic education all the way? We need to teach our children what corruption is, because if they don't know, how will they prevent and identify it? Thank you so much.
Please don't come. We are taking this set of questions, then we'll give Bishop an opportunity together with the Commissioner to answer, and then he will give his remarks. If time allows, we'll take other questions. So kindly, don't come. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Mike Mutungi. I'm the CEO of I Choose Life Africa, but also an alumni of ILU, and just congratulating Daktari here for a wonderful job. Well done. When you were here with learning theology and other things, Greek and Hebrew, so this is amazing to see this. And also congratulations to Bishop for being in this position. A question that I have, it's actually related to the previous question. Well, we can be targeting addressing corruption now, but I do think for us to be able to win this war, we need to begin all the way from ECD. ECD, primary school, secondary school, working with institutions like this, so that we can be able to ask what is in the curriculum that is being taught in school, and how does it reflect in terms of corruption. I Choose Life works a lot in the education sector. We work a lot with the Ministry of Education in mentorship and working with life skills with young people. And I think my question is that what can we do together to be able to begin addressing corruption right at, actually from primary school all the way to university. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Please, One question, less than a minute if possible.
Okay. Good evening, everyone. My name is Dennis Monane. I'm the Deputy President for the Student Council for International Leadership University. So I saw that there are only elderly men, so I decided to come and represent the young generation. So my question now will always relate to the young people. So my question is, how do we incorporate your young people in this fight for corruption, since the most people involved in the fight are the elderly people? And if we are partnering, how can we partner in this world? Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, good evening. My name is Dr. Edward Kareithi Githinji. I'm born again. I love Jesus Christ as my Lord and my personal Savior. I work in Kenya Medical Research Institute, and my question to Bishop Oginde is, what are you doing concerning the issue of corruption fighting back? We have staff, we have Kenyans, and I can see many of them are here. But the moment you point out corruption, there you get letters of complaints, you get letters of chokos hoy. You see, others are short. I'm the chairman, Union of Kenya Civil Servants, Kemri branch. And we have KEMSA, we have NHIF. Now, the dog barking, but not biting. Please, witness protection is neither here nor there. We've gone through it. People following you up, people with guns, they intimidate you, intimidate your family. It's serious than the way we are talking aloud. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, those are our questions. So at this juncture, I would wish to give, I don't know whether to, yes, Commissioner, I'm sure we've taken those questions. I don't know whether you'll now delegate to the, yes, but even if you just come, you can make a remark and then invite for us, Dr. Oginde. Thank you so much. And thank you for those who have asked those questions. We appreciate it.
Thank you so much. And thank you, Chair, for making it. You can hear the questions are addressed to you, specifically. So it was very specific, but just to give you time to settle down. The first question before you came in was from Mr. Roba from Isiolo County. And you said that a CRA was done, and you stated that you feel things have gone back to normal. I can state without fear of contradiction that, as I said earlier, we cannot be everywhere. Since last month, we are relaunching what we are calling the corruption prevention committees, and the chair of the corruption prevention committee in the counties is the governor. The members are the deputy governor, the CECs. Those are the members. We have come up with we have developed a training manual. What we can do is to take them through, is to guide them, is to tell them these are the expectations. We were asked questions, is this in the law? Because we always asked, is this in the law? So for us, we are trying to create the structures, the framework, we are communicating, and we hope that we are there to support them. And we've told them we'll come and train them. We are starting the trainings, and we'd want all of them to be there in August. So that as the leaders of the counties, they'll be able to run the show. As we are all aware, an institution is as good as the leadership. I wish to stay without fear of contradiction. There's a research which was released recently on the health sector. We did a research in partnership with the UNODC. And one of the counties just kept on being the best in participation. So where the leadership is good, I don't come from there, but it's my neighbor, Makueni. It was the best in most of the things. We know that there's been good leadership there in the past. You can see it. Where the leadership is good, it shows. Where it is bad, you trail in everything. So it's as good as the leadership. We will empower, we'll continue empowering, and we expect that when we empower you, we give you the tools, we have the material, you run with it. Then we will be doing follow-ups. Yeah, that's what we are doing at the moment. Yeah, you talked about Rwanda, and you have said it's working there. And for sure, it's true, those who have been in Rwanda, we know what is going on there, and we know for ourselves why it's happening. About budgeted corruption, I know that is something we are aware, and we have discussed it in our recent strategic plan meeting, and we are coming up with measures on how to go about it. Let me not share them at this moment, because we also know that corruption fights back. But with time, yeah, but we are aware that corruption starts being budgeted at the budget level. About whether the war has been declared, I request our chair to tell us whether it has been declared today, or what is the position. Chair, you will tell us that. At least you had the question. So you'll tell us whether the war has been declared. Corruption has undermined cost of business, and that is true. That is true. Corruption is very expensive. Every day, as commissioners, we get reports on what is happening. And I look, and sometimes you wonder, where is this money from? You know, I'm sure even in your institutions, you know what is happening. So that's why we are saying, when I look at you, Bishop, I told them, Chair, I told them when I look at them, politicians see voters, I'm seeing partners. So from where we are expecting us to play our role where we are, so that I look at life this way. He's my chairman. I had the prevention committee. And if there's a failure in that committee, let me be held accountable. Because we have had this issue, when I talk to whoever, if we start owning the responsibilities which you have been given, and I like quoting the talents, I say I have 5. The Bible tells me that when I use what has been given, it's multiplied. But if I have that one, I say, hakuna kitu, you know, I'm so helpless. What happens? It's taken and given to another person. That's a principle I apply in my life, so that any opportunity I have, any time I have, I use it for the best. So I'm encouraging us, the legal team which is here, everyone, CEOs, chairmen, please, let's know that. And sometimes I've worked all along in the government, that's what I said. And sometimes you hear, hii serikali. And I tell people, you know, the public is complaining about serikali. Maybe they are complaining about me. No, we always think of somebody else. If you degrade it and you break it down, it falls onto somebody. So some of the issues, but I think we think it's a president, it's a politicians, but serikali, anybody in the public service, when there's a complaint on an issue, it falls on somebody. And that's why I'm saying, let's take accountability from where we have been placed, because these are the talents we have been given, and it's just for a short time. Let me try to hurry up so that I give my chair, Michael Mutinda. Will today begin the work of putting together. Yes, I think you are hoping that today there's a transformation, that we are going to start changing things. And Mr. Macharia said that this starts from the top. The chair will tell us about that. Unless the top is committed, and I believe we are all top in one way. We are the top. Whatever position you are holding, you are a top. Yeah, so Chair, maybe you can tell us on that. Then Maureen, what do we do to encourage ethics among journalists? Yeah, I know that has come up on several forums, and somebody was just making a comment on some reports. You know, you see a report, and first I must say that we have different partners, and for me, journalists are one of our most critical partners. And as Mr. Roberts said, when EACC went there, he appeared on national TV for the first time. The media has been very supportive in this war, and we are trusting that as we continue engaging with them, we'll also try to educate each other, because the journalists are also a product of our society. I don't know why we isolated only journalists, but in the workplace, we find that we have a cross-cutting of staff, accountants, and when we look, whoever it is, HR, finance, journalists, they are all a reflection of the society we are living in together. I can't say there's one profession where we can say these are the angels. We have also seen Shakahola on a lighter note. So we can't say there's somebody who is winning. We are all together in it. And that's why we must evaluate. And as we point at others, we should also point at ourselves. ELNET, there was a question from you, from Dr. Mwinzi. Mike Mutungi, you mentioned about entrenching issues of ethics in the curriculum, and I know EACC has been really involved when it comes to the review of a curriculum. And I believe, I don't have children at that age, but I believe there are issues of values which are now coming up in the new system. We'll continue engaging, and I'm sure with time we'll get it right. The other one was, Dennis Munene, you asked how we involve the young people. I'm very proud of Dennis, just to come here and stand and represent the young people. I once had an opportunity to talk to young people in the university, and they said we have let them down. Our generation, we are the ones who have let them down. And as I talked earlier, I'd say the children do what they see us doing as parents. The VC here told me that they are ready to work with us on issues of the youth. We have talked about having various forums in the universities, in various levels of schools, and I would recommend you get in touch with me personally. We can share ideas on how we can brainstorm, even for you to give us ideas, because I realize the younger people really think a lot outside the box. Today I was told is not outside the box. There's no box at all. So you think, yeah, so it's not outside the box. So Dr. Githinji, yeah, you talked about how really corruption fights back, and I'll just go back and say, in a crooked forest, who is the biggest target? In a crooked, the straight tree. Let's be the flame, let's be the light. I'm sure as we all work together to strengthen the laws. You have been seeing in the last 2 weeks, the last 1 month, what is happening about the laws, and I respect all the lawyers here. I don't know whether we are enhancing the laws to fight corruption or what are we doing. I'm sure you have been reading the media and you can see the trend. Thank you. Thank you so much. I now invite our chief guest, he's laughing, who is my chair, who is also my bishop. He has been my bishop for many years. I'm very happy to work with him. For the last, he said it was 2 months, and I was very surprised because it seems like we have been together for a very long time. Please come and share ways on how we can fight this war. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Asante sana. That okay? I think that's fine. Asante sana. Good evening. And wow, this is a huge congregation here. It's a while since I preached, so I'm very delighted to have a congregation. me begin by apologizing for coming so late, but I found myself in a situation where at the last minute I had to attend to some other matters, and I thank Dr. Cecilia for coming to step in. You know, this morning she asked me, I see you are going to speak somewhere, can I come with you? And I said, why not? Come with me. Then she didn't know she was enlisting herself to be here. So that really worked out well. God is amazing on how he does his things. So that Dr. Cecilia was able to come and step in and help where I was not able to come. I don't know how long this was to go. I think by now this should be ending or should have ended. But I told my team there, let's just go, and if we meet people at the door, it's fine. We have up to 8. That's a lot of time. Okay, thank you. So I don't know what has gone on since you started, and I don't want to repeat too much of what has been said or done. But let me share briefly some of the thoughts that I had intended to share with us in light of where we are. Actually, this morning, I was sharing with our commission some of the thoughts that I was going to share with you. Because for the last almost 2 months, it's not yet 2 months, I've been at the commission. And just observing how things happen, hearing what is going on, participating in some of the things that are happening there, providing leadership to people who have been on the ground for much longer than I have. And so that can be a very tricky situation when you are trying to train people to swim and you don't know how to swim yourself. But it's been an interesting space to be in, very, very interesting space to be in. It is one thing to be out here and observe things happening around us, especially to do with corruption. It's another thing to be in a place where you are getting some details and information as to what could be happening and why they are happening. And the first few weeks, because I came in and was immersed right away into this whole process, I was not sure whether I was in the right place and whether I was the right person. Because the truth is that the reality on the ground, where the ground is at the commission, bringing in information from across the country of incidences of corruption and unethical conduct, is such that as you sit there, you can be overwhelmed. So many times I went home with my head spinning, just from the information that I have had and interacted with in the course of the day. And I was feeling like a doctor. I don't know how doctors feel. I've never been one. But I imagine a doctor who is working at in an ER, emergency room, where every few minutes a patient is brought. This one, the skull is broken. The other one, the limbs are all torn. Like the 53 people who were in the accident. Imagine living with those kinds of people day in, day out. I don't know whether there are doctors in the house. And how do you go back home and sleep? How do you go back home and eat? How do you go back home and interact with your family? I thought it was a very traumatizing experience. But I realized that doctors, by the time they are getting there, they have gone through training. 6 years, isn't it? So I hear when they go first year in Chiromo, they used to be taken where there are dead bodies. at least when we used to have friends and colleagues we joined first year with, that's among the first things that you encounter. So your body begins to numb and to get used to these things. But imagine if you are thrown in like myself, and you certainly have dead bodies all around you. It is very traumatizing. And that is where I have been in the last few weeks, that I have been in the commission with dead bodies everywhere. Some torn badly. So, in the last few, maybe 2 or so weeks, I was thinking to myself from a very, let me confess, frustrated point of view. How does one tackle this? And I meet some of you and tell me, you know, we are praying for you. We are very expectant. You are the right person. And you think you are encouraging me. What you don't know is that you are making my life even more difficult. Just by saying you are the right person makes it life very difficult, because we know that the expectation is very, very high. So in the last 2 weeks, it has been a very, very difficult time thinking about, is this even doable? You know, is it something that we can actually do and accomplish? And so I began to evaluate the experience I've gone through, and try to put some sense into it. And being invited to this has really helped me to synthesize that, because you invited me, and the topic is corruption and what? The war we must, what we need to win the war. So that has helped me to synthesize. So thank you for inviting me to this function, because I think it was more for myself than for yourself, so that I can begin to put my thoughts together. And so it is those thoughts that I was sharing with our commission members this morning. And it was very good to hear their feedback on the same. So I'll start by saying, do you have a connection? Oh yes, I think there's something here. Let me try and see if I can project something. They say that what you see and hear sticks a little more. They are not fellowshipping. HDMI. Let me try again. If it doesn't work, it's okay. I can just talk. It is okay. Let's leave it. Sawa sawa. No, I think he is okay. Or it might work. Corruption is fighting back. beginning to come. We must win this war. Yeah, there we are. So I was thinking about tackling corruption and the challenge of doing so. And so I started reflecting on the nature of corruption from what I have experienced in the last few weeks, from an insider kind of perspective. And I came up with 4. When we talked this morning, we increased them to 6, but let me share the 4 that I had come up with. One is that corruption is a legal breach driven by impunity. There are people who are involved in corruption not because they don't know that it is wrong, but they know that it is wrong, but they are determined to get engaged in it. And especially those people who are in a position of power and authority, it is like, I'm going to do it anyway. The laws are there, the consequences are there, but they will do it. Like the young people would say, na utadu. It is blatant impunity. And I'm saying this from my observation of some of the cases that have come before us. Corruption is also a moral failure, reflecting a corrupt culture. There are some of incidences that I have observed in my short time of people who are involved in corruption simply because the society is corrupt. So that the way I've been given opportunity to serve in EACC as chair for the next 6 years, after 1 year, some people will be asking me, so how comes your house is still the same? How comes you're still driving the same car? How comes our roads are not done and you are our chair of such a big institution? And so the pressure that is being put upon you to do something or to show that you are in a senior position begins to create in you the desire to actually show that you are not as small as they think, and that you have some resources or access to resources that you can use to make a difference. And I think that is part of the reason possibly that some people who we have known to be very, very okay, soon you discover that they are also caught up in this corruption thing. So it is a moral failure that is reflecting our corrupt culture. There's another form of corruption that I call human greed, founded on scarcity mentality. These are people who will get into corrupt practices not because they need the money or the things that they are looking for, but simply because there is a satisfaction that is derived from telling you, I am the owner of those block of flats. When you say, wow, they feel very good. So they have all these buildings, they have all these many things, they have lots of money in the banks, but they are still stealing. It is not that they need it. They just keep acquiring and acquiring and acquiring and acquiring, and they will never get satisfied. If you ask them why, is they say, I'm keeping for inheritance for my children, and they have 2. So you wonder, how much can two children really have? Even if you take the biblical approach where he say he leaves inheritance for the children and children's children, even then you realize that what this person has acquired is beyond these children, because children are also supposed to work for themselves, aren't they? So it's not like they're just going to sit there and be enjoying what you leave for them. They will also be working for themselves. But there are people who are involved in corruption because of this insatiable desire to have more and more. And I call it a scarcity mentality because those of you know the scarcity mentality, the resources are scarce, so acquire them while you can. That is why you go to a wedding or a party and you find a person has piled food on their plate. You are sure they are not going to finish. Or you wonder whether that is the serving plate where other people will serve from. Have you seen those people? I hope they are, of course they are not here. They are out somewhere. And you find this person sits down with that food and eats a quarter of it. The rest of it is left on the plate. Why? Because when they were serving, they wanted to take as much as possible just in case they don't get satisfied. Are you together? And it gets finished, and when they go back they find the food is finished. So for security purposes, take as much as you can. So there are people who are engaged or involved in corruption for that reason. I'm talking now from my just observation and analysis of some of cases that we are dealing with. But as a Christian, I think there is also spiritual bankruptcy due to godlessness. There's corruption that people are engaged in, that if they knew that there's a God who watches over people and to whom people they will account to eventually, they perhaps will not do what they are doing. But because they have no ultimate point of reference and accountability, they therefore get engaged into these things and they don't care, because their life is, their motto is, eat and drink, for tomorrow you die. So while you are around here, eat and drink, for tomorrow you die. So this was my analysis, or this has been my analysis of the nature of corruption that we are dealing with in this country. I'm sure you can think of a few others that I have not put here. As you notice, I have not put here the political angle to corruption, which is big. So having seen that, I then ask myself, can we win this war? I know somebody else have even declared it. I see many targets that need to be cleared. Is that what I was told? Yes. The war was declared long time ago. The war was declared long time ago. We should not wait for it to be declared. The very fact that this room is full of people who wanted to know whether we can win this war tells you that they know the war has been declared. It's just how can we win it that is people are asking. So the question we can ask is, can we win this war that we are already engaged in? My answer is yes. And a big yes. We can win this war, and not only that, we must win this war. It is because we have no choice. You know, those of you who are Christians in the room, there's a story of some lepers. who found themselves in a very difficult position in a time of war and famine. And their options were not very good. The option was only death. If we stay here, we die. If we go there, we die. So they said, there is a chance that death over there has some promises. If we die here, there is only death. But death over the other side has possibilities of survival. So that 1% or 0.001% chance of survival was enough to motivate them to go and die on the other side. The truth is that they survived. I think that's where we find ourselves. If we stay and do nothing, we are going to die. If we try to do something, we are also likely to die, because corruption fights back. But there's a chance that if we do something, we might survive. And so we must fight this battle, and we must try and win it. So, because my time is gone, let me just mention a few things that time does not allow us to do. One is that this is talking more from the point of view of the Commission. We must enhance our legal framework. We need to make corruption in this country unprofitable, so that we do not, we know in this country we celebrate thieves and robbers, and the people who celebrate them are sitting in this room. Especially for us Christians, you know, hey, so and so is so blessed. Isn't it? They are doing very well. The Lord has blessed them. And yet you know that as chairman of Eacc, I do not have so much money. Isn't it? But very soon you see me putting up a block of apartments, and you are saying, I am blessed. Since Bishop went to Eacc, he is so blessed. So that encourages me to do what? To continue being blessed. None of you comes to ask, Bishop, funny, how much are you being paid over there? No one asks. How come since you got into this position, things are really moving very fast? No one asks. The only people who come are the people who say, I'm blessed, and who want to share in that blessing. My children, my debts, my what, they want me to give something so that I can support them. Now I become chief guest, not like in this one, in fundraisings. And if I come and give 10,000, he says, surely, chairman of Eacc. Am I speaking to someone? I was meeting with, we were meeting with, I was meeting because the person, I was meeting with some members of parliament last week. These are members of parliament who have come out to declare themselves as members of parliament against corruption. Wow. Yes, there are such people in this country. Members of parliament against corruption. I told them that this is the best music to my ears, because the word against is a very strong word. So we had an excellent meeting, and we had great discussions on how we can collaborate, how we can work together, and great things. At the end of the meeting, I had mentioned in the meeting that one of our challenges is that members of parliament themselves are corrupt. Within parliament, corruption is going on. How do we tackle this? So at the end of the meeting, one of the members came to me and said, you know, Bishop, it is true that we have corruption in parliament. But part of the reason that we have corruption in parliament is because wananchi have pushed us into this corruption. Because it is like once you get into parliament, people think you have an unending supply of money. So anybody who is sick in your constituency, anybody who was lacking school fees, anybody who has a fundraising, anybody who has a medical problem, people who have a funeral, everybody. So every day you are expected to go there and contribute. If you look at my pay slip, my member of parliament said, it cannot sustain that. But the expectation is so heavy upon us that we will give and give and give and give. So those people who do not have the moral capacity to say no, it is very tempting to receive monies and to find shortcuts so that you can have money, because if you don't do some of these things and your neighbor is doing, you will not come back to parliament because you are considered mean, not generous. So I empathized with our friends in parliament, and it is very true. So we have put these dear friends in such a place where they have to look for extra income so that they can do what we expect them to do. And we end up in a corrupt society. So what can we do? What can we do to win? We have to work on our political, or rather our legal framework. We have to enhance some of the legal requirements that are there. And this is one of the things that we are working on now as a commission. Not that we are starting now, it has been there and it is there and it's something that we are doing, but we want to be a little more strategic on it. One of the things we would like to do is to, when we see you with a lot of money, we would like to ask you to just explain briefly, with the aid of a diagram if you can. Tell us how you got this wealth and from where. And anything that you can explain, we will allow you to. We believe it is yours. Anything that you cannot explain, we will assume you have taken it from Kenyans, and therefore we'll take it away from you and take it back to Kenyans. That is in the law. We will not have to create the law. And we have been doing it, and it is one of the most successful aspects of the EACC's work. But we want to make it now more systematic, so that people can give us back that which they have taken from us. There are two groups of people that we will be looking at. One group we are calling the highly influential people. People who can use their positions to enrich themselves. Those are called highly influential people. The second group we want to look at is a group that we are calling highly exposed people. Highly exposed people are people who are in those positions where they interact with public quite a bit. And they offer services that people require. And sometimes because Kenyans are not very patient, they require them fast. And so to help me to help you, you help me to help you. Isn't it? And so we collect a little taxes here and there on the side, what we call privatized tax. You know? Because it doesn't go to the coffers, it goes to my pocket. So there are these people who have those kinds of places, of positions and responsibilities. People who are in the supply chain management systems, you know, the procurement managers. Sometimes you don't want to be corrupt, but somebody wants a tender. And so they call you on the side and say, you know, we can talk. And you talk, and in the process you end up doing the wrong thing. And so you had recently, EACC got this man who was working for, it was in the papers, was working for Nairobi County government in procurement. His salary was 21,000 shillings. But in the short time that he had worked for the county government, he had acquired wealth worth more than 500 million Kenya shillings, including putting up a hotel. So all that we did was to ask, tell us with the aid of a diagram how you acquired all this wealth within this period of time. And anything that he was not able to account for, we considered that it must have been taken from the county government. So our role is to receive it back and give it back to the county government. That is one of the things that we want to enhance in the time that we are going into. The other point we want to do, so that I finish, is social transformation. You remember we said that our society, I think just leave it, it's okay. It's okay. Let me just talk, because I'm about to finish. I'm really shortening everything. Social transformation. How do we transform the minds of the people, ourselves as members of society? We would like to work with the Ministry of Education so that we mainstream values and integrity in our education system. So that somebody talks about ECD. Did somebody talk about ECD? So that right from that early stage, we begin to train our children on values and integrity. So that as they grow up, they get to know the right things to do. Of course, we are hoping that there will be role models at the top who can then model this which they are learning in class on how it is done. We also want to work towards raising integrity champions. And I'm sure our commissioner here must have shared with you. I don't know whether he shared with them about the integrity clubs. So we want to enhance that at every level among our young people, so that we have integrity champions, whether it is in schools, in colleges, in universities, everywhere. We have these integrity champions, people who believe in integrity and can challenge their fellow young people not to steal exams, not to plagiarize, not to buy A's, but just to follow the right path. We trust that this will begin to bring transformation within society. Then thirdly, in that same area of national transformation, societal transformation, we want to encourage family programs that can bring values within the family, so that our families, because that is where the foundation of values is. I happen to be a member of, not very active member, but a member of National Family Transformation Program. I don't know whether you even know that such a program is going on. The government, recognizing that families are facing challenges in our country, about 2-3 years ago, put together a task force, a national task force, to develop a training program for families on how to raise up a healthy family. And so that task force has been working on this program for quite a while now. I happened to be a member of that task force. As I said, not as active as I should have been because of the many demands. But it is a great program that is being worked on, complete with developing manuals for training families, parents, how to bring up their children, how to conduct themselves within the family, and so on. And we would like to see values integrated in that training program so that we can bring up and raise up families of values. I believe that this will help us. Enhancing public awareness. We want to put in place programs that can help people to appreciate that corruption and evil behavior does not pay. And so we are in the process of thinking through how do we go about this. We were sharing this morning in our commission that we want to set apart 100 days of integrity, which will end with the Global Day of Anti-Corruption on December 9th. During these 100 days, we'll be calling upon Kenyans to fast. Fast corruption. So even if you are as corrupt as you can be, during these 100 days, just hold yourself. As I was thinking about it, don't add water to milk, for your neighbor. Don't put those karatasi in the day before for potatoes. If I'm buying a tin of potatoes, let it be a tin of potatoes. Small things like that people begin to realize that corruption is not just the person who has taken $1 billion. The person who is adding water to milk is just as corrupt. So during these 100 days, we would like to create awareness on corrupt practices and ethical practices, and we want particularly to call upon the religious community, and because most of you are here are Christians, we want to call upon the Christian community to preach about this in your churches, to speak about this in your workplace fellowships, to try and help us to raise awareness on this anti-corruption integrity, 100 days of integrity, so that we can at least have an inkling of how life can be without a corrupt environment. What would happen if a matatu can just drive without a police officer asking them for that 50 bob or 100 bob? What it would look like to go to a government office and just get your services without paying anything? We want to see if that can happen, and we'll be calling upon you to be part of it. And so on and so on. Time has run out on me, as you can see. Let me finish by saying, what can you do, you as an individual? We want to call upon you as an individual to join us in this campaign. We are looking for watchmen and champions. Watchmen. In Kenya, we have this saying, why are they not doing anything? Have you ever said that? Why are they not doing anything? The thing is that we don't know who they are. But we always say they. Something is not working, you say, why are they not doing something? Why are they not doing something? Can you turn that to say, why can't I do something? Why can't I do something? So we see corrupt practices, unethical practices happening around us. But you are still saying, why are they not doing anything? EACC should come to our office and just see what is happening here. Why should EACC come to your office and you are there? I'm not hearing many amens. You are there as a watchman, isn't it? And you have seen. So as a watchman, number one, you need to be alert. Alert to what is happening in your environment and do something about it. Many years ago, I think it was 2003, when the Michuki rules were there, had just been instituted. So I was taking a matatu from Kisumu going into the village. And of course, the matatus, we were supposed to carry 14 people. No more, well, you can carry less. So especially the long distance, I was going towards Busia and we got into this matatu. I was with my sister. And all of us when we started, we were 14. Gari Tosha. And we left. To my surprise, just about 200 meters down the road as we are going out of Kisumu town, the matatu stopped. Another person entered. I said, Aya. We went, those of you know Kisumu, there's a place called Otonglo, meaning 10 cents. We stopped there. There was a police officer. I saw with my naked eyes the police officer being given 50 shillings. At that same spot, we picked another passenger. Got in. I'm surprised. So they began to put mbaos in between the seats, you know, so people sit on them as they were coming. We were sitting with my sister more towards the front, so they started filling from the back as they were coming. To cut the long story short, as we were getting to Maseno, the seats, all the seats behind us were now full, beyond capacity. So our seats were the next to receive the timber as a bridge between the two seats. So we stop at Maseno and this lady is going to enter. By this time I was so angry. I had already told this conductor, do you know the rules that we are not supposed to carry more passengers? He didn't answer. Why are we squeezing people in this matatu? He didn't answer. So by the time we got there, I was very angry. So when this young lady came to enter, I slapped her in Jesus' name. It was no laughing matter because I was very angry. So I slapped her and said, can't you see that this thing is full? She was so shocked because she didn't expect that. So was the makanga. So he told the driver, kuna mwenda azimu hapa. Just to say that all this time we had been complaining, I and my sister had been complaining, none of the passengers was saying anything. None. Until I slapped this lady, that's when they realized that this man is serious. So now the matatu say, we have to add people, otherwise we are not going. I said, you are not adding any more people here. Otherwise, you are not going. So we argued. So now the other passengers joined me. And they say, yeah, and yeah. No, you are squeezing us like sardines. No, we are not going to accept. Finally, these people decided if we are not going to add any more passengers, we are not going to continue with the journey, we are dropping you here. So I said, afadhali you drop us here, but you are not adding any person into this matatu. And indeed, they dropped us here. And returned our money, and they turned around, and another matatu came, and we got into it. Actually, they are the ones who stopped the matatu. It was going in the opposite direction. They told them, kuna passengers hapa. So they turned around and took us, and we got in. The next stop, this guy wanted to pick another passenger. I told him, do you know why you got passengers? It's because the other guy was doing what you are doing, and you are not going to do it here. You are not adding any extra passengers in this matatu. So I took charge of that matatu, and indeed we went comfortably until I lighted. Whatever they did thereafter, I don't know. Why am I telling you this story? We are watchmen. Corruption is not going to be dealt with by EACC. Corruption is going to be dealt by you in the space where you are. What do watchmen do when a wrong person is coming to the gate? They raise the alarm, but if the person insists on coming in, they slap them. That's what I was doing in Jesus' name. In that place. So we are asking that you be our watchmen. Be our watchmen in this nation. Let's deal with this thing and it will be finished. If each of you slaps 2 people in your space, we will be okay. We will be okay. I'm going to slap a few where I am, but you and I, you are watchmen. Raise alarm, keep alert. But we also have to be champions. Champions do what? Promote the right things. Let us promote values. Let us be advocates for doing the right things. Let us confront as champions wrongdoing in the places where we find ourselves. The president, I heard you talk about the top. The president has come out publicly and said he is not going to tolerate corruption. He has gone ahead and sacked 1 or 2 people. I don't know what we are waiting for to get the cue that top is moving, the bottom also needs to follow. Kenyans, I know we are very skeptical. For me, I have taken it that the president has spoken and he has given us the example that we need to tackle this thing, and we in the commission are taking it seriously, and we want to use that platform and that goodwill and that demonstration to do what we can. I want to enlist as many of you as are in this room today. Let us work together to tackle this thing called corruption. I believe that we can finish it. I have given this example because since I developed interest in this area, I've been doing a bit of reading. And one of the places I read about which countries have tackled corruption, one of them is Singapore. Greatest example in the world. I read about Singapore. When I read about the corruption that was there in Singapore in the 60s and 70s, I was shocked. Lee Kuan Yew has written a book. I've just forgotten the title. But he describes the corruption that was there. It's called? Not that one. There's another one. When you read how he describes the corruption in Singapore at the time, you think Kenya, we are doing very well. Because it was bad. It was really bad. And yet they were able to move it to where it is today. Kwani si hata sisi ni wanaume tu? Ni binadamu kama wengine? Why can't we do it for our country? And it didn't take the whole country. There were just 6 people. 6 people who said, we are going to tackle this thing. The first thing they did is to seek election into parliament and then get into the leadership of the country. And then they began to turn the country around. You may not enter into politics. You may not get into other places. But we can join hands and tackle this thing and leave a better country for our people. Surely we can't leave Kenya the way we found it, or worse than we found it. Let's bequeath our children a better nation. And I believe we can do it. I have put my neck out, and I know some friends are saying, my Bishop, why did you get into that space? You're going to be messed up. If we don't put our necks into this space, we will be more than messed up. Because the corruption in this place is really, really bad. It is really bad. But it can be turned around. I have very high hopes. Perhaps I'm being naive. But I have very high hopes if you work with us. Amen? Amen. Any last question?
Maybe
No.
you can help answer. The last person said
Yes.
that the whistleblower protection is a joke, and that people follow you. The moment you report, they follow you with guns. Is that what he said?
That is true.
So, how do you expect these watchmen of yours, they are seated here, when they are followed with guns, what are they going to do?
I don't know I don't know about your watchmen, but every watchman has the risk of being followed with a gun. My watchman, a few years back, was shot. My watchman, a few years back, was shot in my presence, at my gate. Well, it's not very few years ago. It's more than 15 years ago. My watchman was shot. Actually, because I was just driving in, I don't know, Elder, whether you remember the story. I was just driving into my compound around 6:30, going to 7, just beginning to get dark. And he opened the gate for me. And as I drove in, I just had pop, so I thought I had a tire burst. So I thanked God that my tire burst happened right in my compound. I didn't have to repair. When I turned like this, I saw a gun on my face. And they escorted us into our house, and we had a very good fellowship. What I didn't know is that that shot actually shot my watchman. And he ran, he was shot in the chest. He ran, jumped over the fence, and fell on my neighbor's compound in a maize plantation. So after these guys left, as we were looking for him, that's when we found him and rushed him to hospital. By God's grace, he lived. The job of a watchman is risky. So will we stop being watchmen because there's a risk? No. Then don't be a watchman. I know I'm not answering the way you want me to answer. Are we together? But having said that, we are doing the best that we can, isn't it, Madam Commissioner? we are doing the best that we can to, this is part of the laws that we are talking about. There's a whistleblower protection law that is about to come into place. We have a witness protection law that is already in place. So that if you, yes, you wanted to say something?
Yeah. On that particular one.
Yes, yes.
Sorry to intervene, but the last statement you've made.
Yes.
And I think I'll use this opportunity. I work with the government. That last agency, Witness Protection Agency.
Yes.
But I came here as a member of ICS. I didn't come here
as a government person. Right.
But I think on that last question, I think I felt I have an obligation, because I'm in this forum,
right,
to tell you that we have Witness Protection Agency.
Yes.
And it is working. And they can confirm to you. Because as I'm sitting here, I know we've worked with the chairman here and the commission. So Witness Protection Agency is working with government law enforcement agencies in this country, and we've worked more importantly with the EACC, and that's what I can confirm to you. The one that we are working on, and I'm actually representing my agency, is the whistleblower.
Yes.
And we are working on that through the Office of the Attorney General, and I believe with time, we should be having a legislation in place.
Right.
But I can confirm the one with Witness Protection Agency that is working, and we've facilitated many corruption cases in this country. So I felt that I needed to say something.
I'm glad you confirmed what I said. Because long before I got into this space, several years back, I actually worked with the Witness Protection Agency many years back. So I know it is there and it is working. The whistleblower protection is the one I said is in process, and we hope it is going to be there. But that should not stop us. That's why I started by saying life is risky. Life is a risk, and especially if you choose to be a watchman, be sure that you are staying at the gate so that the people inside can sleep in the house peacefully, isn't it? So let's not be afraid. I'm not saying let us not be careless, but at the same time, let us not be afraid to do what needs to be done. You can be discreet about it. If, for example, you bring us information, we are not in the habit of publishing and saying it is John Nganga who told us this. We have ways of following issues without ever anybody knowing who brought us that information. The reason that the witness protection is even more important is because now when it comes to a witness, you have to actually come out and be a witness. But a whistleblower, you can blow the whistle and then disappear into the thickets. Thank you. Can I hand over now?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Just a moment. We invited young people here who have no vehicle to go on. We feel responsible for having invited them with that promise 7:30 sharp. We will leave so that they can get matatus. It will be totally unethical. Not formally finish this meeting now, and those of you who want to talk to the bishop can continue, he allows it until midnight. Is that agreed?
No, it will be unethical for me to be here until midnight. Yes.
And then we finish the meeting.
He was going. Oh, I thought he was going to ask a question. Oh, okay. That's why I was waiting. Thank you. Thank you.
Let's give a hand to Bishop Osam. Yes, before we release you, I want to give you a number. Kindly take this number, and what we will do with this number, we want you, any question that you may have, kindly put it in WhatsApp. It's an ELNET number. 0731, 0731, then 074 888. Okay, I'm repeating the number, 0731 074 888. Kindly, any question you may have for the bishop or even regarding this forum, kindly we want you to channel it there through WhatsApp. Just save it as ELNET. You can even take that code, eh? You can take a picture of that code and then you can give us feedback about this particular forum. Yes, we are so grateful that you have, do I use the word endure? You have endured up to this particular moment. Thank you so much for your participation. We will just finish the meeting, but if you're not in a hurry, and I believe Bishop will be willing to give us a few of his minutes, feel free. You can't be left behind, and I believe he will be here to tackle your questions. So once again, thank you so much for coming to this particular forum. We are grateful that you joined us. I would wish, under the instructions of the chairman, just of our patron, to conclude this session with a word of prayer. Let us pray together. Gracious Father, in the name of Jesus, we are grateful because of the wonderful time that you have given us, even as we held this session on how we can handle the issue of corruption in our nation. We thank you that our house is prepared for battle, but victory comes from you. We pray that you will guide us and you will help us, and that, Lord, you will give us wisdom and inspire us to be the champions of change in our nation. We are glad that we are not sand in a seashore, but we are just a grain of salt in food. We can make a difference, and we pray that you are going to inspire us to make a difference where we are and influence us in our society. In years to come, we shall look behind and say, we lit a fire that has transformed and changed our nation. Thank you for speaking to us. This we ask in Jesus' name. Amen. And now may the grace of the Lord Jesus Christ and the love of God and the fellowship of the Holy Spirit be with us now and forevermore. Amen. Kindly feel free to be left behind to ask a question, but to those who must leave, we salute you and thank you so much for sharing your time with us. God bless you.